Fantastic. Now, a lot of people gather here today at Freedom Plaza. Everyone has a kind of agenda. They feel that the war is wrong, or there needs to be more money, or more energy efficiency. And I just saw one of your flyers, and it says that all of these things can be lumped up under one category, a problem with one thing, and that something basic needs to change. Could you elaborate on what that basic thing is?
Well, we have a lot of different problems, but they boil down to one basic set of things, and that is that, the institutions that we have, including the monetary system and money and most of the other traditional institutions we have become outmoded and are no longer serving our needs. They reinforce, all those institutions are reinforce and reinforce a value system that needs to change at a fundamental level. We need a fundamental shift in values, and we need to rethink all of our institutions, starting with money and the monetary system. We need to start creating a system in which we're sharing rather than everyone's out for themselves and generating greed, which is what our current system does.
Generating greed. You make it sound like it's an energy, or like it's something.
A lot of people, even the people here in the plaza, look at the problem as a bunch of greedy people causing this. But it wouldn't matter if we got rid of every politician that's doing something greedy, if we eliminated all the CEOs of the greedy corporations. Within months or a year, we'd have a whole new set of politicians and a whole new set of corporate executives doing exactly the same thing all over.
Why, if all the bad seeds are out?
Because the propagating of those seeds happens because of the system itself, because of the underlying structure of everything. We created this out of a certain need that we had at a time when there was scarcity in the world. And we're now coming to a time when we're able to create abundance. We create enough food to feed everybody in the world, the whole world's population at this point in time. But we still can't manage to feed everybody. Even though we have plenty of food, we're paying our farmers not to grow food, we're dumping extra food into the ocean, we're doing all kinds of things, but we're not feeding the people that are starving to death. And the reason we're not doing that is because of the institutions that are not set up to serve that. Because nobody can figure out how to make money by feeding those people. Because they don't have any money to buy food, we won't feed them. And there's something fundamentally wrong with that. So we need a basic value shift towards a consciousness of sharing and away from one that's generating greed. And then we have to recognize that because of that consciousness shift, we also need to begin to regenerate all of our institutions so that they support the new set of values.
It seems kind of huge and grandiose. How do you move from something like a bunch of people are designing a political action to the awareness that a fundamental shift needs to happen? How do you start to undertake something so monumental?
It's already starting to happen. I mean, the people that come to Wall Street, first off, they're 1% wrong. The reason they're 1% wrong is they're saying they're the 99 and they're blaming 1% of the people for all the problems. And that's not the case. All of us are in the same boat, all 100% of us. It's not 99% against 1%. The greedy ones are the ones that are just better at playing the game the way we've got it set up right now. And what we need to do is we need to change the game entirely. And we can't do that until we begin to shift our values. And shifting our values means we have to start thinking about each other in a different way. Thinking about ourselves in terms of sharing and not as us versus them, not as I'm in competition with you for the resources of the world, for getting a better job, for promoting myself and raising my standard of living, even if it
sounds like you need two components. It sounds like you need propaganda and education. Those are the things that affect people.
The education is what the Zeitgeist movement is about to a great extent, because we believe we understand what needs to happen. So education is the beginning, and understanding is the lever that's going to create the value shift. When people understand that all of our interests are in common, that we're not against anybody, that there's not just a bunch of greedy people that are screwing the whole world up. That's not what the problem is. The problem is the institutions and the values. We've supported that 1% in doing everything they've done up until this point. We've been conspirators with them in creating this system that we have right now.
But it's backfiring on the 99% now. All of a sudden we have a problem with it.
This is a problem. The only reason, it's not because it's backfiring. What's happening is that technology, this is another aspect of this that the Zeitgeist movement understands that a lot of people haven't wrapped their head around. Technology is one of the major forces that's driving all this. For instance, I'm a postal worker. I work at the post office. A lot of people say things like, the big problem we have with unemployment right now is that we're outsourcing jobs, we've got illegal immigrants coming in taking our jobs. Neither one of those things happens at the post office. We're not outsourcing postal jobs because we can't. And we don't hire illegal immigrants at the post office. And yet the post office is one of the first institutions that's failing. And there are two main reasons for that. For the last 10 or 20 years, the post office has been heavily automating all their mail processing. So now everything comes to us, it's already pre-sorted. We don't have to stand there and sort out all the mail. We don't have to do all that kind of stuff. And the other aspect of it is another automated aspect, that's the internet. The internet does a better job of mail delivery than anybody could ever do. At much less environmental impact, much less labor, there's no labor cost involved, relatively speaking. And those are the two things that are basically causing the postal system to become obsolete.
So is the internet a bad thing?
That's not a bad thing. You see, it's not a bad thing. Well, it isn't. If you look at it in terms of our present economy, it's a bad thing. Because the more people that become unemployed, that lose jobs, they don't have any income, they don't have any money to buy things. The less money they have to buy things, the weaker the economy becomes, the more competitive the businesses become, the more they try to automate to decrease their costs, the more they automate, the more people that become unemployed. It's a self-destructive cycle. That's where we're going. That's what's driving this economy into the ground, and it won't stop until it's done. But what it's also doing is creating an incredible amount of productivity that is basically lowering the true cost of everything. Food is already at a place where we produce plenty of food for everybody. And really
just data. I've heard the internet referred to as the nervous system of humanity. I've heard
the internet.
Yeah, I've heard it.
The internet is one of the very strong technological innovations that has driven things. And what the Zeitgeist movement contends, if we can manage to get past all the institutional and the traditional and the folk ways and attitudes of doing things that include the monetary system that's ancient, religious ideas, political ideas, nationalistic ideas, if we can get beyond all those things and we apply through a systems approach technology and scientific understanding, we can solve easily.
You think that data's out there, the scientific support of the global nature of humanity? You think that such a thing actually exists? There's this substantial research, there's actually proof that we need to function this way because this is the way it is?
This is where we're going. This is where evolution is driving us. This economy, we're talking about something we call a resource-based economy, in which there's no money. What emerges out of, we're going to abstract this a little bit because we've got a long ways to get there, but if we could eliminate money tomorrow, if you can imagine this, we eliminate money tomorrow and everybody continues to do exactly what they're doing today. You don't have to stop, but now you don't have to pay for anything anymore.
What about basic needs?
If you need groceries, you go to the grocery store. If you need gas, you go to the gas station, you get gas. Everybody continues to do what they're doing.
But no one profits. People have a base nature that says, I need to get stuff. I need to get stuff. That'll fulfill me.
That along with money, the monetary system, the idea of private property, the idea of private ownership of resources, all of those things are part and parcel of the outmoded ideas that have to be overcome. We have to begin to move to a place of sharing.
I got a quick question for you. I was researching this gathering, and I noticed that it's not just happening here in the U.S., it's happening in Greece, the UK, Spain, Brazil, Israel, Egypt. Why do you think all of a sudden the same type of fed-upness and the same type of awakening, I guess, is happening at the same time?
What's driving that is the economy, stupid. That's what's driving it. The people don't have jobs. The kids are going to college to try and get jobs. They're taking all this educational time. They're getting out of school, and all of a sudden they can't find anything except menial service jobs at minimum wage, if they can find that. They can't support their families. They have no hope for the future in terms of the present economic structure. And that's being driven by the technology that I just explained to you. I mean, right now we've outsourced a lot of the work that we do. Almost everything is produced in China for the United States and most of Europe. The The next thing that's going to happen is they're going to start to automate all those jobs, and the Chinese people are also going to be out of work.
Dude, if we don't move to this sharing system you're talking about, it seems like it's get big trouble. Like we can be one of those war-torn countries we look at on TV.
This is what we're facing. You see, we have to face this head on. We have to begin by understanding. The understanding is what begins the shift in values. The shift in values is what makes it possible for us to start doing things along the lines of sharing. I mean, very simple things. They were not going to be big steps at first. If we started a single-payer healthcare system in this country, that would be a big step towards sharing.
But everyone thinks that it's too big to start. You say that, oh, it's too big. But if we don't start somewhere, and soon...
It's going to start somewhere. It's going to start somewhere. The only question is whether or not the big countries that are so deeply embedded in this old consciousness are going to start fighting over resources, fighting over oil, energy stuff, not because we need that energy stuff, but because the only way they can make more money and more profit is by controlling oil and nuclear power plants. When we could produce free, abundant, renewable energy for everybody, if we applied ourselves to it in a scientific way, we could turn the whole world around in 10 years.
Well, yeah, but what are we going to do about our insatiable need to be more, to have more? Do you think that human nature will suddenly change as a result of this system?
I think that, see, you're talking about human nature. Now, this is another big thing the Zeitgeist Movement talks about. What we have now, the way people behave now, is because of environmental effects, because of the nature of the system that we live in. It's not human nature to be greedy. It's not human nature to behave the way that we behave right now. Possessive, private property, all kinds of things that are related to this system that we exist in. Human nature is extremely flexible. If we were able to do one of two things, if we were able to change everybody's value system overnight, then we could recreate all the structures in the world and everything would be fine. Or if we were able to totally recreate the structures and drop the people that they exist as they exist now in their awareness and their value system into that structure where everything was free and they didn't have to compete for anything, they wouldn't be the way they are for very long. There's no reason to hoard things and compete with other people with things when you can have everything that you need.
Well, you know, while it sounds grandiose and far-fetched, it also sounds like it's something immediate, it's something that's at hand now. And there's a lot of people that don't care.
About it. The value shift, what has to happen, the sharing, is what's going to bring about the long-term structure of a resource-based economy. But that's also something that has to begin now, and we begin with the small steps. It can't happen overnight.
What if I'm self-centered, I'm greedy, I'm well off? Why should I care?
Because if, you know, right now we've got, they say 10% unemployment in this country. It's much larger around the world. Really, probably in this country, it's more like 20%. That means that as of now, still 80% of the people have work and they're involved in making money, so they're deeply embedded in this system. But next year, after this next recession that we're going into, maybe it's going to be 30%, or 40%, or 50%.
Now you're hitting close to home.
How big are they going to build the walls around their mansions, and how many security troops are they going to have in order to protect themselves? And what's going to happen when one nation decides to go and take what somebody else has because they're not sharing and they have to have it to survive?
So we can do something about it now.
We're going to destroy ourselves. And it's in everybody's interest. This is not about the 99%. This is about 100% of us. That's one of the things I'm about to try and put up here on our sign, and it's really important that even all the people here with all their awareness need to understand. It's not about 99% of us, it's about every single one of us on this planet.
Thank you. Thank you.